Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more at www.listenfrederick.com. But we are rejoined by very special guest, part of the Alumni, and new Washington Commander, Mr. Kedric Gholston. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm well. How you fellas doing?
Doing great, and I'm a lot better after seeing you in that Letterman jacket. I've seen a lot of those today. So my first question to you, I did see that you were in the photo shoot with the Alumni with like Brian Mitchell and others and Dexter Manley. So did you know that the name was Commanders back then?
Absolutely not. When they invited me to come out there to do the photo shoot for the rebranding, I'm like, absolutely, because I figured at that, I would get some insight. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I'm definitely not going to tell anybody if they tell me, but that being said, it was like I've had a better time, easier time getting onto a military base.
Really?
We walked into the stadium. They wouldn't let us in the locker room because I believe that's where they had the jerseys and things set up. So they kept us in a side room, heated, all the whole nine, but walked out on the field, gave us the 22 apparel. They shot the videos, so on and so forth, and then we left. And so everybody that knew I went out there to do that was like, you know the name, you just won't tell us. I'm like, I don't know anything. I thought they'd at least tell me, a couple of options, but nothing. So it was a surprise for me today from an official standpoint, but obviously there was a ton of rumors swirling around about what the name was going to be, and most of them were the Commanders.
Yeah, and it's been up and down as far as like people's reactions to the name, the jerseys, all the stuff that's dropped today. What was your initial reaction once they finally announced Commanders, and what was your reaction to the jerseys when they finally released those?
When I was at the stadium this morning, I went out and met the fans and mingled with the community this week, and I kind of had prepared myself that it was going to be Commanders, even though I hadn't like officially heard it yet. But I have to tell you, this morning, the people who worked on this project, Jason Wright, Mr. and Mrs. Snyder, and the whole support team, people that I don't even know, man, you could tell there was a lot of time and energy and passion put into this. And so from that standpoint, when you can see the passion in somebody's eyes when they're explaining it and connecting the history with the future, and it means a lot to them. You know what I mean? And for us just hearing it, obviously it's going to have to grow on us. I was a Washington Redskin. We had just got familiar with the Washington football team. But like any logo, any team, you're supporting people in an area as something that you're holding on to. So I believe it'll grow on a lot of people. And, nowadays, it's hard to please anybody. Anybody can jump on any type of social media platform and give their 2 cents, and it's not worth the toilet paper it's written on. But, that being said, that passion is what really stuck out for me. And like I said, the reason that emblem on the side of the helmet meant something to me was because of the people and the relationships that I built around that. No different than when I played at the University of Georgia. Why does that G mean something to me? So I believe that people will rally around this area, continue to rally around this football team, because it's who we are, it's who we love.
Right. Yeah. So we know the Twitter reaction. If you've logged on to Twitter, you've seen it. And no matter what, the fans weren't going to be happy about it. We knew that they were going to make memes. It was going to be upsetting to some fans just because they're going to complain no matter what, like you said. I personally like it. What do you think? What it seems to be the general consensus among the alumni? Do you think the alumni like it? And random question, but have you heard anything about if they're going to be mixing and matching pants colors with the different tops?
So I'll tell you this. I think the alumni are kind of like where I'm at. We all knew that it was going to change. We've had this, 19-month process to know that the Washington Redskins was going to be retired. The Washington football team, there was a rebranding that was going on. So I do believe that there was a buffer period for the emotions to get out. And when I was out in the community today, I think the people are going to tell you whether or not they like the name are the young people, the high school, the middle school, the high school kids. And we pulled up to a high school, and as we're getting out of the car, this young man yells out, "Washington Commanders, I'm 10 toes down." You know what I mean? So he was hyped through the roof. And so for me, that brought energy because that's what it's about. It's about the next generation of this fan base, not forgetting those that rooted for me and especially those that were around in the 80s and 90s, the heyday of the Washington Commanders, but the young people. And those are the ones that got to get excited about it. And I think the uniforms are revolving. I think for so long it was such a historic uniform with the Washington football team that everybody was kind of scared to touch it. So when I came in, it was the Joe Gibbs era. So it was the burgundy pants, the white tops. We would go all white sometimes. And then when Bruce Allen came in, it was the gold or yellow pants with the burgundy top. So now I think they're freed up to use the flexibility to kind of keep up with the trends a lot more, which is awesome, because what I like isn't what my sons like or my children like, but ultimately I'm going to like it regardless. And so I want them to be able to enjoy it just like I've enjoyed it. Just like, you know, when I was their age, when something new and trendy came out, I was excited about it. And us old people would always complain about it. So from that being said, you know, I'm just excited. Being out in the community in DC today, out of 100 people, you know, 97 of them loved it. And you could see the passion coming about. They love this team. It was good to be amongst the people again. And just, they understand, you know, the situation. And I think they're going to support them just like they've always supported us.
Yeah, and Kedric, I think the most pressing question that everyone would want to know is, did Snyder have those Timbs on?
I want to tell you this. I don't remember what he had on, but all jokes aside, it's the most relaxed and I believe comfortable I've seen him.
Really?
You know what I mean? I think he's at peace with the rebranding. He likes the new name, and I don't want to speak for him, but you can see the excitement, and he was definitely excited to see all us alumni today. He was full of hugs and smiling faces, and so, you know, I think Coach Rivera said it best: is, you know what, we're going to hold on to the past for what it means to us or the good things, but ultimately we got to be open-minded to push this thing forward and not just continuing to bring up, you know, things that have not been some of our prouder moments with this organization.
Yes, but on a more serious note, Kedric, I have to ask you, what was your favorite uniform combo that you did see? Because a lot of people didn't like the white, looked too red. I've even heard some critiques from my father-in-law saying that the burgundy jersey was a little bit too red. Which one was your favorite?
You know, to be honest with you, I like the all white. You know, I saw it, you know, if you saw the stage and things like that, I was sitting in the second row. And then when we got up on it, I didn't spend much time on it, but it was clean. It was sharp. You could tell that these are probably just mock-ups, and these things are probably going to be tweaked every other year, like most NFL, you know, jerseys. So I believe, you know, sky's the limit, and, you know, people can be as creative as they want to. And as far as, you know, mix and matching pants, I mean, that's all on the players. If they want to wear the black bottoms with the burgundy tops or the white tops with the black bottoms, I mean, that's going to be the cool thing about this, is that they're going to be able to decide the captains on that football team what they're going to wear, and it's going to be cool because it's going to, you know, for the next, you know, few years, we're going to be guessing what uniform are they coming out in. Is it going to be the black helmet, the white, the burgundy? And so I'm super excited because ultimately, you know, that's really, you know, what it's about from the kids' standpoint. And from the football standpoint, you know, they got football people that's going to make football decisions. And, you know, nobody was happy about the way that this season ended up. But ultimately, I believe the guys that they have in that building have a ton of pride, have a bad taste in their mouth, are going to kind of, you know, right the ship in the correct way.
Yeah, and speaking of football decisions, there's a big decision coming up this offseason. Obviously, the team is looking for that new starting quarterback. If you had the option of going with obviously like a top guy, maybe like a Russell Wilson, maybe a Derek Carr, or do you want to see them maybe go the route of drafting that guy, maybe building around that guy, and maybe having that young franchise guy?
I mean, if they're able to go out and get somebody with the pedigree of Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, then that's a no-brainer. I mean, you know, Stevie Wonder would do that with Ray Charles telling them, you know, these guys can play. That being said, if it's not one of those guys, I'm going out and I'm getting a young guy. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to get a young guy, because I believe that you can't expect a quarterback to come in here and fix everything. But when you look at Russell Wilson in Seattle when he was young, you look at Tom Brady when he was young, these were young quarterbacks that were put in a great situation with a strong running game and tough defense.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So we can't expect a young quarterback to come out and score 30 points. So really anything you get from a highly productive situation is just a bonus. But you know, with a young quarterback, you know what, you're going to have to play great defense, complementary football, special teams, and allow that person to develop. And I believe even in this modern fantasy football, NFL, that formula still works because it minimizes mistakes. You're uber focused on, making the game plan simple for that guy. And the team, I believe, just rallies around a young guy almost in a protective way. You know what I mean? Where they know they need to help this guy to succeed. And so I want our quarterback, not somebody else's quarterback. But like I said, if you got a chance to get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, those guys are instant game changers. But for the rest of the guys, they're guys that need to be in a perfect situation, need to have a lot of other things work well for them. But I want our quarterback, you know what I mean? Somebody that we groom, we develop, we go through the ups and downs with and stick it out and say, hey, I'm happy that, we were able to stay the course with this particular guy.
Right. Yeah. And another thing, let's keep it on the playing field. I'm always interested to hear veterans' takes on Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera seems like he's getting a lot of unnecessary heat from some fans on, of course, it's social media, Twitter. Twitter's a crazy place right now. Let me just tell you this. But what have been your impression so far of Ron Rivera? Do you think that he is the guy and that we're headed in the right direction?
When I not being in the locker room with Coach Rivera, obviously playing against his teams when he was in Carolina, they're always a hard-nosed, physical type bunch, and I believe that that's what he wants to build here. I'm not going to apologize for them winning the division in 2020 because, hey, you win. If it's out there, you win it, right? And I believe winning games creates a culture. That being said, being realistic is you went from playing a last place schedule to a first place schedule. You went from playing the kid that started at JMU to playing Dak Prescott in the Dallas Cowboys. You went from, you played elite type quarterbacks and it's hard to stop those guys. And I do believe it took them, about half the season to really understand how they wanted to go about playing. And it's really, the one thing about the National Football League is it will humble everybody. And the fact of the matter is with all the talent that we have on the defensive side of the ball, they're still really young. You know what I mean? And I do believe, not re-signing Kerrigan from a leadership, from a professionalism standpoint kind of hurt the group because now you had young guys that were forced in leadership roles that they may not have been comfortable with. That being said, I do know that they got good football people on there from a defensive standpoint, and they have the talent, but talent doesn't win games. Teams, the best teams do. And that sounds cliche, but, the fact of the matter is football is cliche, even though people don't want to understand that. You do the same thing for about 30 weeks out the year, and, hopefully you're more successful than not. But, we'll see because we'll really see in year 3 what this team is made of, how they are responding to Coach Rivera. There's a lot of great football coaches that for one reason or another, they get their teams to achieve at a higher level, or sometimes their teams underachieve. And that just all, that's all in the nuance. I believe that when you're a coach, you have to understand who you are, what you want to do, but be flexible enough to deal with the different personalities and the situations that you're dealt with on a day in and day out basis. Because like in any successful business, you're managing people. You're trying to get the most out of people day in and day out. Now, people are messy. Things are going on. You have to be able to manage those situations on a day in and day out basis. And, that's not me making excuses for the things that happened this year, because like we said, when you're a professional, you expect a certain level of a product, and everybody deals with injuries. Everybody has things going on off the field that might be a distraction, and that's no disrespect to the things that went on. Obviously, Sweat losing his brother, that's tragic. I couldn't begin to wrap my mind around what that would do to a team. DeShazier, who I played with, getting in that accident where that young lady's life was lost. So those things you can't plan for and you don't know. We all deal with grief differently. and understanding who those players are and what they mean to that organization, I'm sure it did upset the balance of the locker room and making it kind of hard to focus on, practicing and playing in games, even though you do believe you're giving it your all.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, to wrap this up, Kedric, I have a couple questions for you. But the first one I'm going to ask you, because I do believe that you have some experience in real estate. You had a previous company, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Gholston Real Estate, residential commercial development. My wife's the broker. I am a licensed realtor.
So my
licensee is I am a realtor, not a real estate agent.
Perfect. Because I love that word corporate that you added in there. So my question to you, Kedric, I think being from the Virginia area, this stadium relocation, are there sites out there in Virginia? Do you think that Dulles is probably the better move, or is there places around like Tyson's or inside the Beltway that would be fitting for a new stadium?
So, as a Loudoun County resident, I would hate to have to deal with the traffic. For me personally, not playing at the RFK site, I do know that they built some turf fields and like a little park right beside it. I would love to see the stadium go back in that area. And I'm going to tell you why. Remove football remove the history from it. But the millions of dollars they're going to spend on infrastructure with the metro, with widening the roads and making all these different ways, that's going to help people. That's going to help this whole area day in and day out, not just on football Sundays and concerts. So if there's going to be money that's spent, I want it to be spent to really improve this whole area. And how cool would it be, and some people have done this, I wouldn't, to go to Washington, D.C. and watch a football game and to be able to enjoy all the city has to offer just from walking out the stadium. For me, with as good as technology is, you can, get an 80-inch TV, anything you want, and sit at your house. So it's about the experience of going to the stadium, everything that it has to offer, the environment around it, the culture, so on and so forth. So if it's my vote and from my professional standpoint, as a licensed real estate agent, I want them to be back in Washington, D.C. And Mayor Bowser said that today. She wants the Commanders back in D.C. And I just believe that would feel more like home for a ton of other people. Now, that's easier said than done. And we've been having this conversation for a long time, but it would be my hope and wish that they're back in D.C.
Absolutely. And
you just sold me on it.
Yeah, and earlier today, I was on the Big Douglas show, and there was a question that came up, and it was a great one. I want to bounce this off of you. Basically, a fan was upset with the new name and saying that the Ring of Fame, the retired numbers, should not translate over with the new name. So for an alumni, knowing the players, some players are obviously up there, their numbers are retired, do you think that the numbers should stay with the new name?
Absolutely. I likened it to somebody else today. I mean, the Washington Redskins that's a part of this family. Just like the Washington football team has a small part, and then the Washington Commanders moving forward. It's still the same organization. We just changed your name. You know what I mean? We rebranded some things, and what those guys did underneath these colors, because I believe that the burgundy and gold means more now than it ever did. Those people push forward. You know what I mean? You can't erase history, and especially not for these elite players that were fortunate enough to make such an impact for this community and winning championships, to be recognized in the Ring of Honor by this organization. It's the same organization, so it's no sense, that's the best things that we have to offer as an organization. So why wouldn't it translate? And this is nothing new. I mean, the Expos, left and turned into something else, and they're still a history. Matter of fact, the Houston Oilers are now the Tennessee Titans. You know what I mean? So the history travels with the team, the good, bad, and the ugly. So for somebody to say that, we should just not, those players still played under this organization, even though it might be called something else. It's still the football team that represents the Washington, Maryland, and Virginia area that we all love. So for me, I mean, people will say anything to get a reaction out of people these days. And I think sometimes you just can't pay much stuff attention.
Real quick, I know I told you I only had a couple.
Listen, man, we got time.
Hey, but I wanted to get your opinion because I know obviously you're not in this situation, but you playing in the NFL, you know more than we do. You talk to coaches. What is your opinion on the Brian Flores situation and his lawsuit against the NFL?
not knowing anything about it, just what we all know. I mean, in a league that's, predominantly African American, from a executive standpoint and a head coach standpoint, you don't see those same numbers reflected from a hiring standpoint. I do believe that there is a lot of qualified people for these jobs. And like anything, you want the most qualified person to get these opportunities. And that's really what we all want. It's got nothing to do with male, female, white, black, Hispanic, so on and so forth. You want qualified people to have these jobs. It's the National Football League. It's the best of the best in the world. And so from that standpoint, you just hope that these people are getting fair opportunities. And if they're not, we need to be able to have a serious conversation and address these issues intentionally or unintentionally. You know what I mean? You can't make an owner hire who he doesn't want to hire, but at the same standpoint, we can identify areas in which we can, I guess, prepare minority head coaches and executives so that if an opportunity does present itself where they do have the credentials, they show the best version, of themselves. And that's really what it never, the thing about sports that I've always loved is it didn't care what color you are, what your socioeconomic background was. When you stepped out on that field, the only thing that matters was those green grass and those white lines. And so from that standpoint, it was as fair as it could be. Now, living in the real world, I'm glad we're having the conversations. I respect Coach Flores for, essentially putting himself out there to bring what he believes is an issue and that others believe is an issue in the NFL, that hopefully it won't be something that we'll just try to sweep under the rug, but have those serious, hard, uncomfortable conversations and let everybody be honest with themselves. You know what I mean? He's doing this to try to help out, not himself, but those that will come after him. And for that, I got a ton of respect. And I know I've had a ton of great coaches, regardless of what color they are. So I hope this doesn't come into a he said, she said, something that it shouldn't be, but let's focus on how we can get the best people in these jobs so that, it's just a better product overall.
Absolutely. Kedric, that was the perfect explanation. I absolutely love that. And I think that the Washington football team should be consulting them on the stadium relocation, because I think you, along with everyone else, wants that stadium back in D.C. I can't thank you enough for joining us today, Kedric. I know it's been a busy day for you, being able to travel all over the DMV, going to FedEx for the reveal. I can't thank you enough for being a part of this organization and seeing the start of this new transition underway, sir. It's great leadership from your aspect, obviously, and that's good hands for us to be going into the next chapter, Kedric. I can't thank you enough, brother. I hope you have a good night, and until next time, brother, I want you to be safe.
Hail to the Commodores. I'm sorry, the Commanders.
That's so funny. Big Douglas said that earlier,
it's new.
too.
I'm working on it, too.
It's funny. I was on with Big Doug. He said the same thing. He was like, I don't know why I want to keep saying Commodores. Hey, you guys like good music. That's all. That's all it is.
Yeah, maybe that's the truth.
All right, Kedric. You have a good night, sir. Enjoy time with your family, brother.
Have a good night.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man himself, Mr. Kedric Gholston. I mean, my goodness. I love talking to that guy.
I love that Brian Flores answer. That was like spot on. Bing, nail on the head.
Dude, without a freaking doubt. Now, what I want to go into, before we get into our next guest, I want to kind of discuss a fan question, and that is submitted by the Colonel himself, obviously, of course. And so the first one, oh my goodness, we started talking about the name change today, so it was huge. But already huge criticism of the name, the Washington Commies for short. We could always change it to the Commandos instead. Think of logo possibilities. What are your comments on that?
Logo possibility.
Well, in the fact that the nickname is Commies is what people are doing.
Yeah, look, no matter what the name was going to be, look, people made fun of Redskins. They called it Dead Skins, Foreskins, whatever else you can put with the skins to make a joke about it. So just with any other name, it's going to get made fun of. It's going to get ridiculed in the beginning. But just like I've been saying, just like a lot of people have been saying, winning cures all. So if you start winning games, winning playoff games, Well, God knows if you get to an NFC Championship or a Super Bowl, you don't think people will still be saying the commies, the commies. No, they'll be proud to say the Commanders and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of feel about it. It was going to get made fun of regardless of what the name was. But as far as logos go, actually, I'm going to steal Matt Valdez's from the Junkies, the producer. He had a great kind of a mascot kind of logo. You could have like a hog, like it still goes back to the history. You have like a hog that's like in like GI Joe or like commando gear, and he's just walking around the stadium, running around the stadium with a shirt gun, and he's shooting the shirt gun into the stands. But that could also be the logo as well, like a hog, like a kind of a commando, like badass type of hog type of thing. And I feel like that would also, for the people that wanted the history connected, that's also a kind of a reach out and kind of like a hey, like a stone to you guys, like hey, we're still thinking about you guys. We're still trying to add you guys into the history as well.
Yeah, I get that. The whole commies thing, Colonel, the one thing I will say, at least we know if the nickname is going to continue being commies, we know LeBron likes it. But now we are joined by our next guest, and I'm really excited about this because this is a big time. Along with the name change already going down and happening, there's another aspect to this. It's the Senior Bowl week, and we all know that the quarterbacks down at the Senior Bowl are aspect number one. That is what everyone is talking about. It's what everyone is considering. So without further ado, I just wanted to say hello. What is up, Mr. Steve Manella, analyst at Pro Football Focus, also called Coach Manella on Twitter. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us, sir.
Hey, what's going on, my man? How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Fantastic. I'm glad that this whole situation is over with the name, that we can move on. But speaking of moving on, Steve, the Senior Bowl is going down at the moment. There's practices going on. I know it was raining down there today. Have you heard, what's the latest on the quarterbacks and how they're performing down at Senior Week?
Yeah, so a couple guys I've heard that are looking good. Sam Howell, of course, North Carolina, looks really good. They say he's throwing pretty good balls down that way. And then, of course, Malik Willis is a big name to keep an eye on as well. And I know he's got ties. Of course, we've heard rumors to Washington, of course, in the draft and everything. I'm not sure, though, at number 11 for Malik Willis, but, he's one definitely keep an eye out. I think his upside is just it's big time. I know that, at the school, this past season – with Liberty, I think that he had a couple of games where he really showed big time flashes. And then there was a couple where he didn't play so well. So, he's going to be one to keep an eye on for sure, of course. And then Matt Corral is another name, of course, to keep an eye on for the draft. But either way, obviously quarterback is the always the hot topic, it seems like, for this team. So,
yeah, it wouldn't be Washington without quarterback talk, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who are some other guys that are kind of standing out at the Senior Bowl this week? Because obviously, like you said, quarterbacks get a lot of the talk and get the most talked about. But who are some other guys that are kind of making waves and you're hearing rumbles about down at the Senior Bowl?
Well, as far all I've heard of is really at that point is quarterbacks, because that's what I deal with mostly. So on the other positions, I haven't heard a whole lot of others. I do know that Desmond Ritter looks really good as well. I know we're sticking to the quarterbacks here, but I've heard some good things about him as well. He's moving around better than people had thought he was. He's not a statue, as some were worried. So they've got him rolling out, getting out of the pocket, scrambling, throwing on the run a little bit. So that's another. He's like a sleeper, I would say, for Washington too. For us, I say for us because we're all fans of the team, but for Washington. So as far as that goes in the Senior Bowl, I'm pretty tied into the cues, but I could definitely get more info and share it to you guys.
Yeah, and so look, Commander Steve, I gotta ask you, how did you react to the name? I know the NBC4 kind of ruined it. We can talk about that a little bit if you'd like, but what did you think of the new name and the uniforms? Did you have a favorite in there?
Yeah, to start off, honestly, guys, like I really dig the Washington football team, man. I mean, we're all Redskins fans. It's just in us, and the Redskins will always be number one to me. But then when we went to football team, I thought it was okay. I mean, some hated it, but I thought it grew on me actually. Like that hoodie you got on, I got the same one. So, but now Commanders, I'm all in, man. Like the uniforms are legit. I love the black. Like I've seen on Twitter today, older fans that are all against it because it's black. But I like the new wave, man. It's a new. Let's put let's remember the skins, but let's put that to rest and let's move on. I like Commanders. And it'll grow on, I think, everybody. Ultimately, winning cures everything. So if they win, then it doesn't matter what they're called, really. But I like it. The name is good. The logo is good. And I like the colors.
Yeah, and also you were in the Army as well, so I want to say thank you for your service as well, Steve.
Appreciate that, my man.
Just to put it on top. But the next question I have for you, that I know we're talking about quarterbacks, but let's just say let's take it out of the draft and let's look at it from a general standpoint, either free agency or a possible trade or the draft. Which quarterback do you think is the best fit for Washington right now and Scott Turner's offense? Be able to gel with this team with the weapons to get the most production possible.
Well, that's a great question. For Scott Turner's scheme, he likes a guy that can move around a little bit. And, obviously the big name is going to be Russell Wilson, right? Everyone wants to talk about Russell Wilson to Washington. I would love it. I know you guys, I'm sure, would all love Russell Wilson to come to Washington. Yeah. But my question for y'all is, what would that take? Like, I mean, what is it going to take to get Russell Wilson? So to me, yes, he's number one, and he could elevate this team. I mean, they got 21 touchdowns out of Taylor Heineke this year. Maybe it was 22, something like that. Yeah. I'm counting rushing and throwing. Okay. I mean, you know what I mean? So honestly, with Heineke, I mean, there was flashes for him, but think about if that was Russell Wilson. Back there. I mean, you're talking about an offense that'd be scary, but if they're healthy, of course. I mean, we got weapons. So obviously Russell Wilson. So what would it take, though, is what I'm asking. What do you guys think?
See, that's a question that we had talked about. I was talking with the Colonel earlier, specifically about Russell Wilson and what it would take, because he was saying like 3 first-rounders, but I would imagine that there's going to be some players in there to kind of counteract it. And obviously, Deron Payne is one name that we've heard come up time and time again. But the other name that I've seen come up is one that petrifies me, and that's Cameron Curl. I do not want Cameron Curl to leave. I don't think Terry McLaurin is going to be offered. I don't think John Allen is going to be offered, or Chase Young. Maybe Montez Sweat. But I think Cam Curl, would you be willing to part with Cam Curl in order to get Russell Wilson? I think that is a very important question to ask.
Yeah, it's tough. That's a good question because Cam really – his first couple of years has really been a leader and shown that he can really play at this level. So, And obviously you need a safety, and we know that in Washington, obviously with safeties, when it comes to safety. So, you need a guy like that back there. So that's a good point. It's tough. I mean, you can't throw Chase Young in there because even though he had a down year, and it was disappointing, no doubt, but he's still the future. I'm still really high on Chase. I think he's going to be a great player. So you can't really throw him in there. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to get Russell Wilson. So, I mean, when it comes to the draft, I would say like a Matt Corral, because he can move around a little bit and he gets the ball out quick. I think he'd fit good in Turner's system. But, man, I just worry about his durability. I mean, he's been hurt in college a couple times already. And, his frame is just real small. So there's some questions. Sam Howell's another guy that you can throw in there. But another thing is Ron Rivera a rookie quarterback leading his team kind of guy? I mean, I know Cam Newton was one, but that's Cam Newton. That's a huge, you know what I mean?
He was already a leader when they drafted him. He took that team.
So exactly. So I don't know that he's really going to go that route. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick came in this past year when we all thought they were going to draft a quarterback. You know what I mean? So I really don't know if he's going to go that route. And then when it comes to the veterans out there, other than Wilson, and Watson maybe, but who knows with Deshaun's situation. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I've heard Jimmy Garoppolo's name, but I don't know, man. I don't know about Jimmy G. I mean, is he an upgrade over Heineke? Yeah, probably. But, I don't know. I just don't know if you're going to throw a lot at him. And, what would it take to get Jimmy Garoppolo too? I mean, that's another question to have. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm with you. If you can't get – I mean, I'll throw Aaron Rodgers out there, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers will ever come here. But if you can't get one of those top-tier guys, I'm all about drafting a guy and trying to develop him and turn him into that long-term answer. And speaking of the long-term answer, leading up to this, a lot of stuff was made about Kenny Pickett's hand size and will it translate to the NFL. So do you think that's going to be a problem for him in the NFL? And do you think that he's the most ready quarterback to come into the NFL?
Can I add something to that,
Well,
Steve? Sorry, before you go.
yeah, go ahead.
Isn't
No, go
it
ahead.
isn't it very telling that he didn't measure his hand size for the Senior Bowl?
It is. First of all, that's a great question for both of you guys, from both of you guys. And Pickett is a guy, as far as pro ready, we hear this every draft year, every offseason. Pro ready, yeah, he probably is the most pro ready because his scheme that he was at Pitt. But overall, the hand gloves are so I've heard two different stories. I heard he wears the gloves because his hands are small, and then I heard because he has a thumb issue on his throwing hand. So both of those are like already to me red flags. Like, why would you draft a guy at number 11 if he's telling you he's wearing a glove because either A, of a thumb issue, or B, because of his hand size? Now, Joe Burrow had smaller hands too, and he's amazing. So it's not to say that you can't, you know what I mean? It's not to say that you can't have Kenny Pickett and he'll be a great quarterback for years to come. But there is some flags. So, and obviously he can move a little bit. We saw that long touchdown run he had with the fake slide. So he can move. And that's huge too, obviously, for a guy like Scott Turner. He likes those guys that can get around and move out. But yeah, that's great. I don't know though that I would take him at 11. That's the tough thing. Like this draft class, there really isn't that one guy that you're like, holy crap, we got to. If we're at 11 and he's there, we want to take him. You know what I mean? Right. So it's gonna be interesting. Not to say it's a watered down draft class, because I hate that term when they say, oh, this quarterback class stinks. No, you don't know that. I mean, no one thought Josh Allen would be Josh Allen. You know what I mean? I mean, let's just call it like it is. So it's hard to really say these things, but overall though, at 11, that might be a reach to take a guy like Kenny Pickett. I mean, but we'll see. We'll see what the plan is. And I know that quarterback, though, has to be number one. I mean, we all say this, and we've all seen it on Twitter every day. And Washington fans are so tired of this. RG3, Kirk Cousins. And, I'm 35, so I've been a fan my whole life. And I'm going back to freaking Danny Werfel days, Heath Schuler. I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired. Like, can we get a guy to lead the team for 10 years? I mean, at least I'm not even asking 15, 20. I'm at like 8 to 10. You know what I mean? Can we get somebody in there? If we trade for Russ, can he at least play for 6 to 8 years and help us win? That's the thing,
Yeah, so that's where my mindset goes, Steve, because I'm just like, yeah, I've been waiting for it to happen, but I've changed my mindset to, I guess that's just not the way we're going to do it. And if it happens, great. That's a cherry on top. Everything is going to be awesome. But besides that, I'm just gonna bank on the fact that they're gonna have to win with anybody at this point. Just build a good enough team to that, which leads to my next question for you: is this Washington football team good enough to contend for a Super Bowl with adding a quarterback?
With Russell Wilson, yes, that is a fact. The offense is good enough, and if you have a guy like Russell Wilson back there, I mean, you got to think about it. You bring back a healthy J.D. McKissick. You already got AG back there, who's a stud if he just stops the fumbling. McLaurin's great. I think they could add another receiver probably. I mean, although Brown was, he's a rookie, so we'll see what he can provide. There's Sims is there too. I mean, Logan Thomas if he comes back. You know what I mean? There's parts to the team. The O-line was a top 10 line this year for PFF. Overall as a unit. That's awesome. Like no one thought that was going to happen. I mean, I'm still upset about losing Trent, and he goes out and has the highest PFF grade ever, by the way, for a season.
That's what happens, 98. Man.
Yeah, I know. That's what happens with Washington. We let these guys go for whatever stupid reasons, and then they go out and dominate. But anyways, yeah, I think offensively they are. Defensively, we had a letdown year, of course, and that started with Chase Young and Sweat, and those guys at least came out and admitted it. Jonathan Allen had a hell of a season, though, had a career year, and honestly, Payne had a good year too. So I think if you just have that quarterback, and they won 7 games this year, and we're in the playoff race to the end of the season again with Heineke, and I'm not, saying Heineke stinks or anything. We all love Taylor Heineke; he's a gamer, but he's not Russell Wilson. So if you get a Russell Wilson in there, yes, they can be a legitimate contender. Now you got to remember, Tom Brady's gone. Aaron Rodgers, it could be going to Denver. That's like a hot rumor going around. So who's the quarterbacks in the NFC that really scare you? You know what I mean? There's not, Russell Wilson. He's the one, right? I mean, Dak, I'm I hate Dallas, but I am a fan of Dak Prescott. I just like the guy. You know what I mean? And what he came back from. But he really kind of, had a nosedive toward the end of the season too. I don't know if it was health or whatever. So really, I mean, you get a guy back there, a stud quarterback, a true QB1. And I think they can, man. I really do. I'm a big Ron Rivera fan. So I know some have a mixed reviews on him. I love Ron, and I think he is in the right direction for the team. But they got to have a quarterback.
Yeah, but now I have only a couple questions to wrap this up, Steve, because I know you got to run. But let's just say they don't go big for Russ Wilson. They don't go Deshaun. They don't go after Aaron. And they're not looking at the draft, hypothetically speaking. Free agent quarterbacks. Which ones do you think would probably be the best fit for Washington?
Honestly, when it comes to just free agents, there's really only one that I would even want to start, and that's Jameis Winston. But I just don't know that Winston is a really good fit for that offense, for that scheme anyway. But, man, when you look at the list, though, of guys, Mitch Trubisky, maybe. I mean, but do you I'll ask you guys a question back to that. Do you want Mitch Trubisky being your QB1?
No, absolutely not.
Nah.
So that's what I mean. Like, so you're limited here. You got Winston and Trubisky that are due to be, unrestricted free agents. So it's tough to, really. I mean, if you have to go that route, I guess. I mean, one of them. But I think that's tough. I hope. And I don't want them to go out and trade crazy picks like they did for RG3. But man, I'm just telling you, I've seen jersey swaps of Russell Wilson in that new uniform, bro, and I'm just like, man, let's go.
Dude, that's what I'm saying, Steve. Last one I have for you. Regarding the new stadium, do you have a favorite place to go?
Well, I'm not a native to the DMV area. Now, I have been there a few times. I did do training out Fort Lee, Virginia, and I have gone to a home game. In fact, I've watched Washington play probably 10 different locations, and only one of them was a home game. So I've gone all over to watch this team.
Lucky.
It's been yeah, man, I have been lucky with that. My wife actually doesn't complain much about it, so I'm actually lucky to do that.
Yeah.
The Green Bay experience was probably the best one, but Dallas Stadium is awesome too, of course. Jerry World's great, and we beat them that year. We had Cousins that year, and we killed them, so that was awesome. But the home game, the home stadium, FedEx Field was a letdown for me, and not just really because of the stadium. We lost that game to Dallas. It was a rainy game. It sucked. So I don't really hate the stadium overall, but I just think that if they can go back to DC or at least close to DC, I mean that would be cool. I mean, as a child, they were at RFK. And so I'd always watch like highlights and, it's at RFK Stadium. They were good. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think, but not being a native to the area, I don't want to like answer and upset anyone or anything like that, because then they'll say, he's not even from here. He's an outsider. You know how that goes. So, hey, man, honestly, as long as Sewell's not dropping on people, as long as other quarterbacks aren't getting hurt from fans falling on them and we're not getting laughed at, let's just have a good stadium somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere out there is a fan yelling into their speakers like Clayton Bigsby. We don't like your kind around here. Steve, I can't thank you enough for joining us, sir. This was a pleasure. It's been an awesome time being able to interact with you on Twitter. One of my favorite follows. I can't thank you enough, brother. I want to get you on here again before the draft when we really get to be able to see these quarterbacks, dissect them, and separate them based on the measurables and everything they do up until then. But, Steve, I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother. I hope you have a good night and enjoy this no-name talk from here on out.
Absolutely. Hey, first of all, I want to thank you guys too, man. This was awesome. I've been a fan now, and I love what you guys do. So, let's keep it going. And I would love to come back on. I'm going to end it on this note, though. Take command, but do not put hail to the Commanders. I saw that tweet, bro. Yeah. Come on, man. We don't need that.
No,
they're going a little too. That's a little too much now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So, leave the hail in the past. That's how I am with you. I'm right there with you. Take command is what they need to do. I don't care if it's taken from a semi-pro team that nobody's ever heard of before. Steve, you have a good night, brother. I can't thank you enough.
Appreciate it, man.
Guys, we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. All right, Steve. Man, that was impressive.
Yeah, I like that.
That was awesome.
I like a lot.
It was. Now, I want to get into our fan questions, and obviously, we kind of talked about the Colonels, but the second question that he has is, and it's going to be about the quarterbacks. The quarterback possibilities are head spinning. Is there anything new? Is there a favorite? Any possibility we'll pull an Alex Smith type trade before the Super Bowl?
Well, if something happened before the Super Bowl, then of course I'd be happy. I don't think anything will happen before the Super Bowl. I definitely think that they'll try to pull something off before the start of free agency, which is I believe the middle of March, like March 16th, 13th, somewhere around that time. So that would be kind of my time frame if they're gonna or they're gonna swing for one of these top guys, like we talked about Russell Wilson. If they're gonna make the pitch to Aaron Rodgers, or if they can get some clarification on the whole Deshaun Watson situation and how that's going to end up. I do think that they'll try to take a swing at those top, and you can throw Derek Carr in there as well, but who knows with Josh McDaniels now. But
right,
you can kind of throw those three in there, and if they're going to take a swing at them, and I think that if they can't get one of those three by free agency, then they might try to, obviously, come draft time, they might try to maybe throw some draft picks in there, maybe make another move. But I definitely think that if free agency hits, they don't have the quarterback, I think they're just going to look towards the draft at that point.
Right. And now let's move to Twitter for our fan submissions. Thank you, Colonel. First one we got to go to is my guy, Orange Crush 92. Had a rough day today. He was hoping for hogs. But his first question is, do we need a taller wide receiver / wide receivers?
Yeah. I guess I've always said that we need I've always been a fan of Michael Gallup. I was looking forward to him hitting free agency this upcoming offseason, and obviously with the knee injury, who knows if that's going to turn out. I think he's still going to get paid, but I definitely think that Washington might stay away just because of the whole injury thing. But I definitely have been an advocate of, if you're not going to get another speedy type wide receiver to go on the outside to kind of match up with Terry, definitely get that kind of big body, that red zone target, that guy that can run those deep routes, those the stretch the field kind of intermediate type of guy. So yes, to answer your question, I do think they need a big body guy, but I wouldn't mind a 6'1" Terry McLaurin type that runs a 4.3.
Yeah, look, the two different ways, Orange Crush, right? You could get the smaller, shiftier guy, the Tyreek Hills of the world, and that's a perfect scenario that you would end out with a small guy, right? Like Elijah Moore from last year in Ole Miss comes to mind. But yes, they need a taller wide receiver, because the reason I like taller wide receivers is because it makes it easier for the quarterback deep downfield. It gives them a much bigger window, and also the wingspan. If they have long arms, being able to keep those hands away from the DBs on some of those contested catches, that's the biggest point. And with a taller wide receiver, if his contested catch rate is not good, if it's below average, it's a no-brainer at that point. You got to be able to go away from that guy. You got to be able to catch the ball deep. You got to be able to be a crisp and smart route runner based on the coverage, and you got to be able to bring the ball down deep downfield. We can't have a Steven Sims type guy, and that's what I'm concerned about. I think Chris Olave is a really good wide receiver. Watched some film on him the other day. His burst is incredible, but I just don't know if they're going to be at 11. I'm not sure if they're going to have that pick, Hall, to be perfectly honest with you. But Orange Crush's next question, it keeps resurfacing. Lamar Jackson ? The move would be expensive, but it could work.
What's happening with Lamar Jackson? I haven't even.
He's saying trading for Lamar Jackson.
Oh, yeah. I would love to trade for Lamar Jackson. I don't think the Ravens would ever do anything like that. But I mean, if there was some way for him to be on the market, well, even if it comes down to it, they got the 5th-year option, the franchise tag. So even if it did come down to him, some type of contract situation, or them not wanting to pay him X amount of dollars, they can still control him for that 3-year period where who knows what happened in between there. But look, I'm all for trading for Lamar Jackson. The dude's a former unanimous MVP, which never happens a lot in the NFL. And the dude totaled 50 touchdowns in a season combined, running and passing. Obviously, with a guy like Lamar Jackson on your team, you instantly become a Super Bowl contender because he's electrifying. So would I do it? Yes. Would it take a lot? Most likely, but I think that would be worth the haul for a guy like that.
I'll tell you, I watched a couple Ravens games this year. Tyler Huntley looked a lot like Lamar and was very, very effective in the way
Hold on, before you keep going, I knew someone was going to bring up Tyler Huntley because I've been hearing people calling in the 106 and on Twitter.
Oh, really?
I put Tyler Huntley in the same situation as Taylor Heineke.
Okay.
The dude has no type of film on him, so he comes in the game. People are like, "Oh, yeah, look at that guy." But once you get that 3-4 games worth of film, continue.
I got you. Yeah, I was talking more of like the Ravens. Basically, that's why they'd be okay with moving on from Lamar because they could re-sign Tyler for very, very cheap, be able to get a bunch of picks of return. But my question, OC, with Lamar Jackson is Scott Turner. Can Scott Turner be able to manipulate this offense in order to make Lamar Jackson work? Now, if he has a plan for it, if he has a certain criteria structured and ready to go for it, then yeah, let's kick the tires, let's go. Logan Thomas would absolutely love that move because Mark Andrews and Logan Thomas, they're bigger guys. They're taller targets, and obviously that was his number one target in Baltimore when they were thriving and doing well. All based on Scott Turner, and if he can scheme Lamar into the system. And then obviously it's how much it would cost. I think that is an astronomical number because he's a former MVP coming up on his first contract, really. And so obviously that's going to be really heavily in assets needed to get and required for them. But next question, our guy Todd Father. What's a worse look? The people that thought it was all a smokescreen even until this morning, or the people saying they're done with this team because they don't get their way?
Definitely the latter. The people that are like literally just like, I'm done with this team. Like we were talking before we even started recording. The last 20, 30 years was like, you've stayed around for the last 20, 30 years. But today was a straw that broke the camel's back because you couldn't get the team name that you wanted. And they didn't pay, Dan Snyder didn't pay money for the team name you wanted. Come on, man. Like I said before, and Brian Mitchell said this, and I've said this multiple times. You can hate the name, you can hate the team, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you're right. But if they start winning games, that same person that's crying about, well, I didn't get my name and I'm done with this team, would be cheering them on behind closed doors in his house on the couch or at the stadium acting like nothing ever happened. So that's just how I feel about it. It is what it is. It's a name. If they start winning, everyone will be happy. Let's just hope they start winning so everyone can be happy.
Yeah, out of all the times that you could have left this organization, now is the time that you're planning on dipping. And look, I understand. I've called this Noah's Ark multiple times, this whole rebrand. Either get on the ship or don't, dude. You know, like the flood's coming. You're going with us or you're not. I don't really care at this point because it's just a name. You have to think about it from an alien's perspective. I know there's a lot of feelings attached to it, but you have to be able to be an adult about this and understand that you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you'll get what you need. Now, the next question that we have is from Reginald Skinner, my guy. Why does the media try to match Jimmy G with the Commanders? He's a Cousins-level quarterback. We need greatness, he says.
I mean, because we need a quarterback, and he's probably going to be the most available quarterback as far as a certainty of he's not going to be on the 49ers next year, like the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Is he going to retire? Could he come back to Green Bay? Is he going to request a trade? Who knows? Same thing with Russell Wilson. You could say the same thing with Derek Carr. Are they going to trade him away? Are they going to keep him? They can give him a new contract. So Jimmy G is the only surefire quarterback that's going to be on the market as far as trade availability. So with us needing a quarterback, it only makes sense.
Yeah, and you're exactly right about that because with Jimmy G and his aspect, he wouldn't require as many picks as these other guys. And so you're thinking to yourself, Washington needs picks. They're still building at some point. They have depth issues. They need those picks. And so it would make sense that the less picks you have to send, the better for the Washington football team. And I'm guessing that's why they're linking the two. But no, please no.
You know what's funny? You keep saying Washington football team.
Oh, dude! Oh my goodness, the Washington dude. The whole Redskins. It took us a while, but it took me about a month. I think it would only take me about a week to get over from the Commanders.
Just now
I'm sorry, guys.
I was like, that's like the third time. But yeah.
Commanders deal. Yeah. Now our next question is from Tony Franchise. Thank you, Reg. You're the man, brother. Now that we got this out of the way, being the name change, what should be the number one agenda going forward?
Capital Q, capital B, number one. We need to find that QB1. Like, again, we've been searching for that QB1 for the past 20, 30 plus years. Hopefully this will be the year. Hopefully this will be the time. And that needs to be the number one mission. That's why everyone's down at the Senior Bowl. That's why people are going to be at the East-West Shrine game following the Senior Bowl. So I definitely think that veteran, rookie, free agency, draft, quarterback. That's the number one mission.
What's the number one agenda going forward, Tony? It's us accumulative going back and trying to delete the video footage of Rally Captain and Rev T singing their version of the Commander song. Dude, that just ruined us as a fan base. I mean, that was just such a bad look. But no disrespect to you guys. I thought it was very, very funny. But yeah, dude, that number one agenda, Tony, is obviously it's going to be the quarterback, but it's. I think it's getting the situation at home here, getting people into their positions that they're supposed to be at. But let me take that back. It's Terry McLaurin. I'm sorry, it's Terry McLaurin. Number 17, that's my guy. That's the number one agenda. We need to make sure Terry's going to be here long term. I want Terry to be here in Washington. I want Terry to be happy. And obviously it goes to your point about the quarterback position, but Terry McLaurin, I think, was born to be here in Washington. And I hope that stays that way because I love the guy. Now, the next question that we have is from Tay and Todd Podcast. I love you guys, Todd Pascal. He asks, what's your best advice for fans struggling to deal with a new identity? Asking for a few thousand friends.
My advice would be, well, you stuck with him this long. You might as well just see this whole next ride and next adventure out. I do think that if this was maybe 5 to 10 years ago and there was something like this going on, I'd probably be with a lot of the people that are all like Debbie Downers and just doom and gloom, how this is the end and this is the worst thing ever. But I honestly do feel with the guys like Ron Rivera, the front office people, Jason Wright, even though that's like the business side of things, even if you just stick to the football side of things, I definitely think that yes, you might not like the business side of things, but if the football side of things, no correlation, get things together, I think that it'll make people open up a little bit more. So my advice would be see how they do this upcoming season and base your judgments off of that. If the Commanders are out there taking the field, if they go 7-2 at home next year, you don't think people are going to be at the command center going crazy? Yes, they will. So just see it out. You've stuck around this long. Let's just stick around one more year, one more season. It can't hurt.
I'm not gonna sit here and beg you to stay with the team, and I'm not gonna sit here and expect you to like the name. If this was a name that I didn't like, I'd probably be sitting here pissed too. I completely understand it. You know, this is something that you really wanted, but you have to understand. At the end of the day, this is only a team name of your favorite football team, a professional sport. It is a game. Remember that. There is bigger things in life than for you to be stressing out and flipping out and causing a bunch of health problems because you don't like a team name. You know what I mean? Just calm down a little bit. I understand it sucks. You're getting over it. I understand completely. Just give it a little bit of time, and all I ask is that you keep an open mind, you guys. Now, let's move to the Discord chat server, which goes to this. Our guy, Jeff Miles, had a lot to say. And look, he has a question for us, but I wanted to say this first. He said into the Discord chat, we can't let the world bag us like that. If we take pride in our name, others will soon follow. But if we stay divided, they'll make fun of us for years. We got to come together as a fan base and defend our team. We are the Commanders. Love that, Jeff. I think you hit the nail right on the head, brother. I could not have said it better myself. That was so well done by you. Now, his actual question, or Tony Shiver's question for us. Don't you think this allows the team to really lean into honoring our country's heroes? Not just during the Military Honor Month that the whole league does, but all the time. A natural part of the brand. Also, commanders used in law enforcement can also highlight local police officers doing work in the community. So, question, Hall, do you think this allows the team to really lean into honoring our country's heroes?
I missed like the first 30 seconds of that, but I think I got the grasp of it. Yeah, I definitely think that the name kind of embodies they want to take command, they need to take command of their next destiny, the next chapter of the organization. So hopefully that the Commanders embodies that. It embodies the area as far as the military background, in DC, Maryland, Virginia, obviously. And yeah, I definitely think that in time it will definitely grow onto people, and it will embody, and people will feel empowered by the name Commanders instead of just, oh man, we're the Commanders, we're the commies, man.
Yeah, it definitely does allow us to be able to honor our heroes and give them the credit that they deserve. A lot of the heroes that deserve that label do not like or do not or will ever have their name come out. They're called silent professionals. And those guys, they deserve more than just a month. And because this is not about race, is not about gender. This is literally all races, all genders of people who sacrifice themselves knowing that they might not be able to come home one day. And that is amazing to hear. And to have our fan base, our team, to be based off of that. No other team besides Army, Navy, and college has that ability. I think that's awesome. And already we have the structure in place to be able to do that. Ron Rivera went to different bases like St. Andrews last season, went and met with military personnel and stuff like that. Matches up perfectly, Tony, to your point. Now, the next question from Jeff Miles is going to go to you, Hall. It's a really good one. Will this be an issue if a player ever wants to kneel during the anthem again? Meaning because of the commander's name and ties to the military.
That's a good question. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. I don't think it should be an issue because, again, it's 2022, and I feel like we've taken a couple steps, as small as it might be. I feel like we've taken a couple steps as far as the NFL realizes, like, I mean, they even admitted they were wrong about the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. So I definitely think that it shouldn't really cause an issue. And I definitely think that, but I could also see the other side of things where we're supposed to be the commanders and we're supposed to represent that the kind of military background, that military theme. And if you have people kneeling, that if people feel that's disrespectful, especially people that have been in the service, then you could get a little bit of backlash. But I just think overall, I think that the NFL as a whole has kind of grown past the kneeling and the Kaepernick thing by them admitting that they were wrong. So hopefully that shouldn't be an issue, but I don't really think it should be an issue as well.
No, Jeff, it will not be an issue at all. If you talk to any military personnel, anybody, they go out and defend our country because of freedom. They want everyone to be free. That's what they fight for. You have that freedom to do whatever you'd like, but you have to understand there is a flip side to that coin. The people who are watching are free to voice their opinion based on what you're kneeling, just like you allowing to have the opinion to kneel. Same exact thing on the flip side. So if you're going to kneel, just understand that people are going to complain about it and have their voice and their opinion. They're not wrong for doing that, and neither are you. So no, I don't expect it to be any issue if a player were to kneel in the future because of now a military name. Now maybe the media will run with it. Yeah, sure, let them talk their crap. They're used to it. You know, that's just what they do. Now, the next question we're going to finish up here with is from Digital Guru. He said, hey, Kyle, question about the uniforms. Why did they leave the pants stripeless? No yellow or white stripes. It makes them look like high school uniforms. The numbers look like someone spray painted them on with a template. I think the designer of their uniforms really robbed Dan Snyder. I can't believe more thought didn't go into the design.
Well, damn.
First thing I have to say, Hall, Nike designed the unis.
Yeah,
they're in charge of all that merch and everything. Obviously, Washington signed off on it, but there's different avenues for it. But basically, Nike's the one that came up with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like Nike had a big part in that because that's their product. That's what they're selling to the public. So I feel like they definitely had a big part of it. Like you said, obviously the people at back in Washington had to sign off on it and okay it or whatever that may be. But I definitely feel like if you saw the mannequins, it looked a little underwhelming in the beginning. But if you saw them on the players and how they looked with like
everything looks bad on a mannequin, dude.
Exactly. So with the sleeves and like all like the tape and stuff like that, the cleats to match, I definitely think that it's definitely fresh. I know that people had a problem with the white jersey with like the kind of burgundy reddish numbers that didn't match the helmet. Just like a lot of people said on Twitter, you said on Twitter, the Browns, example that you used, the Browns tweaked their uniforms for the past couple of years until they finally got whatever they're wearing now. So I definitely think that they're going to tweak the uniforms. I think I heard Jason Wright say they're going to come out with a fourth alternate uniform that It's gonna have some fan input involved into it.
And everyone is
Obviously.
speculating that's the camo jersey.
Yeah, the camo jersey. Obviously, everyone's gonna be like, "Well, they didn't take our considerations for the team name, so why are they gonna me?" But I definitely think that yeah, I definitely think they're gonna get tweaked a little bit, and who knows, by game day, you might actually see some stripes on the pants.
Yeah, and the stripes I'm not really a big concern with. I don't really mind not having stripes on the uniform because Jason Wright is a former player. So he knows what players like and others don't. I know I just said that Nike designed them, but maybe there was some input into that, into the stripes and how they look. And I'd rather the players with the pants aspect, I'd rather them be comfortable with what they're wearing. You know, like Dion said, look good, play good, get paid good, right? So you want them to feel comfortable and play and really being comfortable in their setting in that aspect. And then, oh man, I had a thought that you just said, and you had such a great point. Why did they tuck in the jerseys on the mannequins?
Yeah,
it looked so bad.
So crazy.
Yeah, it was like the John Allen mannequin. It looked like he skipped leg day a couple times.
Yeah.
That was absolutely ridiculous. And dude, to your point, the one thing about the fourth uniform being in the future, I am thinking maybe there actually will be a direct relationship with the military. Maybe Washington has to work with the military together in order to make this uniform, to make it the most real life, realistic, actual camo that the military uses, because they have their own. Obviously, it's illegal to purchase the military's camo for any type of civilian service or whatever you want to use it for. You can't get their camo. You have to get the off-brand stuff. So maybe that's why it would take so long, because they have to okay us for being able to use that stuff, which I am all for. Now, the people that are complaining about the team not really listening to us and this is all a fabrication, if you don't understand that nobody is coming to the stadium and that this was the one hot ticket item where everyone was responding, this was the best way for Washington to be able to get fans back and interactive so they can actually read the fan base. Because then you can see, well, who actually is a fan of the football team and who was just a fan of a name. Because there's a big difference there, and I have seen some of those. And so that's a great way to be able to measure the possible fan base in the future. So calm down just a little bit, y'all. Just a little bit. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. This was a great one, a historical one. Rest in peace to the Redskins, to the Washington football team. There was a good run. We had a lot of fun. We grew and had a great time during that brief period with the Washington football team. Met a lot of great people. Did a lot of great things to be put on top of that. But it's been a blessing, this whole name change, because the one thing we have to imagine and remember, this name change forced us to voice our opinions on the new name, on what we think the franchise should represent. It really showed and opened yourself up as a fan to the world on a social media scale and to the football team. It was a blessing. I think that we all got closer because of it. Before this name change, I didn't think there was a nucleus of fans anymore, that you could really go to the game and say that's where those nucleus of fans are going to be. And I think we have that now. And it's really, really cool to see that the building, the construction of the new Washington Commanders fan base, boom, is here. And it's here to stay. And I'm really happy for that, for this time. And I'm ready to get the future started and to get this Desmond Ritter in this uniform so we can win some games. All right, everybody. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Jason Wright, everybody else, you guys did a great job with this. Do not go on them for saying this was botched. They kept it tight until 12 hours before because NBC4 wanted to be petty and fly a helicopter over there and zoom in above. You know, they blocked the doors, the glass doors, so you couldn't see in. So they sent in a helicopter to look over top inside of it. And you're going to say Washington botched it? Get out of here, bro. Get out of here. I'm tired of that nonsense. All right, everybody. We will see you again on Friday for another stellar episode. I'm Kyle.
Before I end this, I just want to say that if you've been watching the show for a little while now, you'll see that I start the show with a salute. Pretty much I've been trying to tell y'all for the past year or so it's going to be Commanders. I'm just saying. I'm Hall. Holstradamus.
I want to put this out there. Keith was the one that first talked about Commanders. He told it to me, told me some things, and it made sense. And I understood it, but I also understood that there could have been smoke screens. They could have been using Keith. You know, you never know. But, you know, that being said, Keith, you're the man. Everyone loves you. I know you've been beat up on Twitter today, but don't worry, big guy. You're strong. You'll get over it. All right, everybody. We'll see you then. Be safe. Go buy your merch for the Washington Commanders and the Parkin' Party. We will see you guys there on Friday. Hull and I were going, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody. We will see you then. Be safe. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched the BurgundyZone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!